Hey, what's up, guys? It's John from the Thought Dojo. I'm your current host, and you're probably wondering what is the Thought Dojo. And me and my good friend, producer Mike, which isn't with me right now in the studio, we've been discussing, how to convey our thoughts, our ideas, our conversations to the mass, to the people. And we decided to start this YouTube channel. We're going to provide podcast reviews, different content in terms of motivation. We're going to be interviewing different artists, different people in different professions, to really just get an idea of how things work with other people and how it ultimately serves humanity as a whole, and what it takes to get there, what it means to be that. And so, this is the Thought Dojo, and today we're going to be reviewing It Chapter 2, and me and Mike just got done watching the Thursday review. So here we are. There are spoilers ahead, so just be ahead if you haven't watched the movie. Go ahead and click off and comment below when you actually do, or actually come back and watch it and let me know what you think. We'll be diving in as much as we can and kind of explain the ending and all that stuff. So yeah, here we go. So It Chapter 2, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would in terms of It Chapter 1, and maybe because it suffers from the same, what I like to call the Guardians of the Galaxy syndrome, where basically Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was such a charming movie, kind of ahead of its time. The humor, the way the MCU was kind of structured, and for the Guardians to go in that direction was super cool and was super fresh. So when Guardians 2 came out, when they tried to replicate the same exact formula, the same humor, it was good, it stuck, but it just wasn't as charming as I thought it'd be. And the same thing happened here in It Chapter 2. It was, it was good, but it was just something about the kids and the acting power the kids had together was really cool. And a lot of that spills over to them as adults. So as they kind of starts off, it's odd. This movie starts off with a gay couple in like Derry and like a little like a carnival, and these guys, I guess Derry's known for being homophobic. They don't like gay people. They end up assaulting the two guys. Throws the gay guy over and the river. Pennywise picks him up, and the other boy, or the other guy, his boyfriend, I guess, comes in to the river to go try to find him. Finds Pennywise and his boyfriend propped up on his shoulder, and takes a huge chunk out of the boyfriend. And so instilling that, hey, he's back in Derry, right? So Mike, the black guy, which is the only dude that ended up staying in Derry, starts calling up the Losers Club, and they kind of go in sequences of like what people are like now, and Bill, he's a writer, but he can never finish a book or finish a scene, and he's got this they kind of catch him off guard in one of the sets, and it's funny because they catch him in the WB set, which is super cool. Who else is there? Beverly kind of gets a call, and she's leaving an abusive relationship, which is funny because her dad was also an abusive person. Richie's a comedian. He's doing stand-up. Eddie is risk analysis for a big insurance company, and Stanley's an accountant for a big firm. So they all kind of get called back. Everyone's kind of flustered when they get the call because they don't really remember, or they don't want to remember. They want to get rid of that memory and stuff like that. And I wouldn't blame them too. That's a traumatic time to remember, or to want to remember that stuff. So like Stanley was driving his Escalade or whatever SUV he was driving, and he actually got T-boned because of it. And it's funny because he was such a person that's so cautious about everything, about germs, about risks, about staying away from danger and all that. He gets hit by it, and so I'm sure he was traumatized by that again. The one person that didn't end up making it back was Stanley. He was the Jewish guy in the first one, and you can kind of tell like where he was going with it when he gets in the tub, and you can just see the blood, and you realize, oh yeah, he kind of took his own life. So that sucked. They all kind of meet in Derry again at the Chinese restaurant, and it's kind of a cool reunion. Everyone's, oh wait, I forgot about Ben the fat kid. He's no longer fat. He owns a huge skyscraper construction company, which is super cool. He looks just really good now. He's got a six-pack and all that stuff, so that's awesome. And they meet at the Chinese restaurant. Everyone's good. Start talking about Stanley, and then each person starts opening their fortune cookie, and it's just one word opposed to like a sentence or a phrase that usually comes with fortune cookies. So they all get it, and the fortune cookie says, I guess Stanley didn't make the cut. and then monsters start popping out of the fortune cookies. One it was like a baby with like spider legs and wings, and just start flying. And they're tripping out. They're starting to remember what happened, what it was like and stuff. So Mike gets a chair and he starts bashing the table. And remember, like it's not real. It's not just a figment of their imagination. And the poor waitress just watching him as he just bashes the table. It's so sad. So they kind of make it into the hotel. They're wanting to get out. They'd rather get out than stay here and try to fight it and stuff like that. And eventually, Mike was telling Bill how to defeat it and how he learned it, and how he learned it from some natives about how to defeat Pennywise. And it's called the Ritual of Chud. And basically, Mike took some drugs with the local tribe, had a vision of its rival on Earth via a meteor that struck near present-day Derry. We often see it and assumes the form of Pennywise, the dancing clown, but its natural form is comprised of 3 deadites orbiting around each other. So that's kind of like if you remember when Beverly looked into Pennywise's mouth and you see those lights, that's his natural form. So the dancing clown is actually just the form that they all are kind of scared of, right? That's the fear that they all have and they share in common. Also, they all have a fear of spiders, which is kind of explained in the clubhouse scene. They kind of go back to the clubhouse underground, where Ben had built a little lair in the forest, and they kind of reminisce about the good times, right? And how I knew they were all scared about spiders. Well, actually, Richie was the only one that wasn't scared about spiders, but he ended up actually wearing the shower caps like everyone else. But everyone else was scared of spiders, and so they put on the shower caps. They messed around and kept talking about, just kind of reliving those good times, reminiscing, and really enjoying each other's company. And Stanley says something about, will this be friends? Will we still be friends forever? And this is kind of where it gets more heartfelt in terms of like, wow, like, yeah, why wouldn't they be friends? And Stanley asks everyone, does your parents still have friends from middle school? And everyone's like, dang, yeah, no, it's not. No one, our parents don't do that. So you can already tell, like, he's living in fear of like being alone, or even though he was an accountant, he was married, there was just this fear of just natural fear that overcame Stanley. So basically, Mike convinces everyone that we need to get the artifacts. In order to kill Pennywise, we need to get artifacts and burn it in this like brown leather vase looking thing. So everyone goes back and starts getting their artifacts. Let me see. Yeah, Bill went to the sewer where Georgie died and ended up grabbing the paper boat that he made for Georgie. Ben went to the library, which Richie went to the arcade where he was accused of being gay. Beverly visits her old apartment where her dad was and got the little poem that Ben wrote for her. Eddie went to the pharmacy, and it was weird. It was probably the weirdest trip out of that one, was the leprosy and the mom, and his fear of just never being able to save his mom, and his fear of germs. And he actually ends up beating up the leper guy pretty well, and kind of conquered his fears, but gets thrown up a lot, which is super weird. And then one of the kids that were in the original It, the Mohawk kid, sheriff's kid, ends up coming back to life. He wasn't really dead. I guess it and his spirit kind of revived him and all that, and kind of starts torturing everyone with the same knife that he did to kill his dad. He ends up getting Eddie, stabs him in the cheek. And then Eddie kind of goes back into the shower curtain and takes off the knife from his cheek and stabs him, which was super crazy, because you just never think that it's gonna happen. And Eddie's bleeding from his cheek. Beverly and Richie kind of come to his aid and kind of help put pressure on his face, kind of help him out. And so everyone's kind of just exhausted, tired, and Bill ends up really wanting to kill this clown, and he actually ends up buying his old bike, the Silver Bullet, which is like super rusty now. There's a little thing in the hotel where the skateboard that this little kid in the Chinese theater, the Chinese restaurant, kind of rolls down the stairs and kind of reveals, hey, you can't save this boy either. So he ends up going into the carnival, goes into the little the clown house little like amusement thing, and goes into the Hall of Mirrors, and Pennywise ends up eating the kid. One thing that was weird about this movie, Pennywise eats 2 kids, and we never see them after that, which is kind of weird. So I was kind of like, that's all right, whatever. Anyway, So he's distraught about that, right? He just lost another kid under his belt, kind of blaming himself again for the death of that kid when he saw it right there in the Hall of Mirrors. So they all decide to go to the house. Well, mainly Bill. He kind of says, "Hey, I'm going to go to this house and I'm going to do this." And then he's like, "No, we got to do this all together." So they all kind of go to the original house, and right as Bill's walking up there, he kind of sees all of them, and then he says, "We got to do this together." Bill's saying, "Hey, no, like, this is my fault. I led you guys here. It was my fault that I did this." And then they were like, "No, we got to do it together." And then he says, "Well, someone should say something." And Richie was like, "I fucked your mom?" And he's like, "No, the other thing, like, good thing we're not measuring dicks." Like, no, the other thing, like, let's kill this fucking clown. Yeah, let's kill this fucking clown. So it kind of brings them into the little house, and they get terrorized there, and they end up making it down the little well all the way in the bottom, and kind of go all the way deep down and find out that this meteor that crashed is sort of alien-like in that sense. And so they finally get to the place where Pennywise kind of resides, and they put the vase in the middle, the little leather brown vase, and then they start burning all their artifacts. And that's when the deadlights come, and that's the purest form of Pennywise, as they say. And as they start closing, as they tried to put the lid on top of the leather vase, a big red bubble comes and pops, and then all of a sudden you see Pennywise just taunting them, kind of saying, "Hey, like, we're gonna be together forever, whatever." And then here comes, just because from the spaceship point of view, it looks just like a normal, kind of human being size, and then comes out with like huge like spider legs and one arm that's like a knife. And so he starts terrorizing them, and he kind of preys on all their fears, puts Beverly in a bathroom stall with blood popping out, with like all the people that have tortured her, Ben with him being fat and kind of the dirt overcoming him, and then the fears of Richie and Eddie, Bill as well. And they all kind of conquer it together. They all conquer their individual sort of terror, their trauma together, or individually. Actually, they all kind of come to terms with it. And then they meet again, and the clown's still terrorizing them. And Richie ends up throwing a rock, like in the rock fight, and he's just taunting Pennywise. And then Pennywise does the deadlight open mouth move and kind of paralyzes Richie. Eddie picks up the spear, or the fire picker, and he's like, "Hey, I think this can kill monsters." Throws it right at Pennywise's mouth, and it looks like he's incapacitated, like he's down for the goal. And keep in mind, the spaceship has like spikes all over, so Pennywise accidentally impales himself, and then Richie's down and he's kind of recovering, and Eddie goes to him and he's like, "Hey, dude, we did it," and he gets stabbed, and through the chest. So this is kind of a fatal blow. And so they're trying to figure out how we're going to beat him, and they figure out, okay, the only way to really beat him is to make him feel small, to bring him down to our size, because he can only really the rule is for Pennywise, he can only operate in whatever natural form they see him as. So they start calling him names, and he starts getting smaller, right? He was like this huge 18-foot like clown with like spider legs, and they start calling him like clown, mimic, fake, murderer, small. They just really basically get him to an infant size, a baby infant size, with like this really old looking face. Bill goes inside, grabs his heart, and just like the phrase of the movie for Pennywise, it says, "Wow, look at you, you're all grown up now." And so signifying that they all sort of conquered who they were, and sort of grasped the reality of fear and trauma, and how that really led to where they're at now. So with the remaining 5, they grab the heart and they squish it with their bare hands, and you can see Pennywise squirm and scream, and he kind of just disintegrates along with the heart. The place is starting to crumble. Like Pennywise is gone, so everything's just starting to fall apart. And we cut back to Eddie, and Eddie's dead. And this is the part where Richie sort of embraces Eddie as his real friend and kind of holds him. And that's probably like the hardest part of the movie, because you see him how deeply he embraces Eddie now that he's not there. And then they kind of square back up the sewers. They get back to the house. They exit the house, and the house just crumbles down, right? Crumbles to the very bottom, just to the foundation, just crumbles everything down. Now the house is gone, Pennywise is gone, it's over. They end up going to the little river dam where they, in the first movie, where they jumped off, and they were just hanging out. So they all jump in the river again, and they're all cleaning themselves from all the dirt and all that. And Bill and Beverly were like, hey, this if Eddie was here, he'd be really upset at us for what? And they're like, for what? For cleaning ourselves with dirty water? He's like, yeah, he'd probably find some excuse to tell us about, like, hey, we're gonna get Scraffalaffa, whatever. And so they all start laughing, and Richie's there kind of crying, and this is the part where I think it hits the most, where they all kind of embrace him and hold him and hug him. And I think that's such an uncommon thing nowadays, is to hold people and to really care for them and to show empathy and sympathy, and that they really did it together. And so that was a really cool like shot right there, was to see that. So after that, they cut back. Bill's finishing a book, finally. Mike calls him, tells him, hey, I'm leaving Derry. I'm kind of spreading my wings out now. And then he says, hey, did you get a letter from Stanley? And then, Harry's like, hey, don't worry, just read it at your own leisure. And the movie kind of cuts where Stanley's explaining himself about why he took his life. And then basically it's hey, I was too afraid my whole life. I don't want you to do that. I don't want any of y'all to be like that. Like, y'all are amazing people. I was just too afraid, and I don't want any of you guys to live in fear like I did. And that he says, I'm always in fear of going towards what I don't know, but also leaving behind what I have. And I think that's super, super true for all of us. Is we're always on the mission to figure out what's up front, and we're also afraid to leave what's behind. So I think that was a cool message, and to see that they all kind of came together, did it together, and conquered it. So yeah, that was the end of the movie, and kind of ends right there. And so it was a satisfying ending. There was a lot that came into it, and it felt like a 4-hour movie, and I think it was like almost 3, or at least 2.5, but it felt like 4 hours to me. Super long. Some of the scenes were paced unevenly, but that's just me. That's my preference and all that. But anyway, good movie, 9 out of 10. And I would totally recommend it to you guys. So if you guys like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so let you know when we'll be posting videos. We'll be doing podcasts pretty soon with producer Mike and other people, so be on the lookout for that. Also, follow me on Instagram and follow Mike on Instagram. My Instagram is jon.mp3, so that's jonjon.mp3. And Mike Beast, MikeBeast_. And just follow us. Let us know what you think. And we'll be on the prowl for the next review, which would be Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. And we'll also be doing more reviews as we go. So thanks, guys. And comment below, and we'll see you soon. Later.